So whenever you guys are ready.
So our film's called The Hunt. It's about a depressed drunk man, goes by the name of Tom, and he thinks his family's been killed, and he's sort of gone out of control since it happened. He's like a drunk and he's got a really dirty house and doesn't really take care of himself. And he starts to hatch a plan to sort of get revenge on the person who he thinks killed his family, who he thinks is a person called Duke, who is an old friend from school. Tom gets ready with like weapons and stuff and sorts to get people to sort of help him out. And by the end of the film, we find when Tom tracks down Duke, he finds out that his family haven't been killed, but he's been keeping them hostage because of a disagreement they had a few months before the film is set. And Tom frees his family and kills Duke in the end.
Tom is a false protagonist and Duke is the antagonist. Tom is aged 30, a very depressed, drunken man who also works as a truck driver, and he's found out that his family have been taken. His hectic, dangerous life got even scarier and depressing. He has stopped his jobs to now find out where his family is. Throughout the film, you can see that Tom is constantly blaming himself for what has happened to his family and tries to make himself a better person. Duke is aged 46, an old school friend of Tom who thinks that Tom killed his family. After an argument, Duke is of similar age to Tom and works as a plumber. He and Tom fell out a few months before the film is set. Because of this, Tom is convinced Duke killed his family, his wife and child. We know that Duke hasn't killed the family and has no convictions of being a killer. He is just a normal man caught up in a bad situation.
The main events of the film, at the beginning, a flashback happens showing what happens to his family when they got killed. Tom sits in his room, drunk and reflecting on his family who think he's been taken or murdered. His wife and one teenage son. He sits there getting worked up and upset and starts looking at pictures of him and his family, thinking of the memories they made together. His sadness then turns to anger, regret and hatred. His thoughts change to wanting to find his family, and it soon becomes apparent that Tom wants to get revenge on Duke. Tom starts to research in order to find out where his family are. He does this by talking to people who might know what happened, and eventually finds Duke and kills him. Tom finds out that his family weren't killed, they were just taken, and Tom decides to kill Duke even though he didn't actually kill his family, but for what he put them through.
So in our opening title sequence, we're going to have Tom sitting in a dark room with sitting at a table with empty alcohol bottles around, and in the room there'd be sort of empty like takeaway boxes and stuff to show that he's not looking after himself since his family have gone. We were going to have him sort of planning, researching Duke and sort of his whereabouts, and then it would show him getting up and leaving and walking past sort of a park with an empty swing, sort of swinging to show that he's lost a child, and sort of show pictures of him with his wife to show that she's gone as well. And at the end, it was going to have him approaching a house, door opening, and then him firing a shot, but we don't know who that's at because you don't see who the person is.
For props, we're going to have a laptop, a gun, a whiskey bottle, and a family photo. For the camera shot's going to have an establishing shot. We're going to have some POV shots and some extreme close-ups of the gun, a mid-shot of the actor walking. And for the editing, we have like the beginning, slow, showing photo. The middle picks up pace, and the end is like pitch black with shot 5. The lighting is dark with a little light in the scene. Filming when it starts getting dark, mysterious and misty.
That's it for and
Thank you. Okay, so what do we like about this idea for a film? What's working?
I like the twists and the fact that the protagonist is pretty violent and he goes about going through the dangerous things to try and save his family. Is quite an interesting concept.
I like the he has to go through. It's a bit, you know, like Finding Nemo. You get all these shots of different people telling him how they are. Bit like that.
I like the fact that you've gone into detail about little things like the takeaway boxes to show that he's still upset and it's still making him feel bad.
Yes, I thought that you had thought your mise en scène through quite well there with your props, use of props at the beginning. Anything else that we think is working well? Okay, any questions that we have? I think that you've thought about the whole film with a twist at the end. I think the motive of the antagonist is not clear. He claims to not have killed them, but he has kidnapped them, so I think there might need to be some kind of motive developed there, even if just within your treatment. Maybe that could be brought through in terms of some of the protagonist's thoughts about that character. Was he a love rival for his wife when they were at school, for example? Did he get the girl? So and he wants the family, potentially. So I think you need to tidy that up a little bit. Casting for middle-aged roles. How are you going to do that?
Just let me know that there's already got all behind.
well, we can.
It's a Danish film first film.
Okay, well, we might still be able to get away with that, being an English version of that. But, yep, let's go back to casting of middle-aged roles. How are you going to...
We weren't too sure. We were thinking of Anton just because of his sort of build and then.
Yep, good. Through costuming, anyone behind me?
Oh, I was just going to say, if they went to school together, they're 16 years apart.
Yeah, I think that was a typo.
Oh, right. Okay.
Maybe tidy that up before uploading the actual PowerPoint. Any other questions? Comments? Suggestions? No? I was wondering about cinematography effects that you're going to use. I've noticed a range of camera shots and movements, but maybe lighting effects or...
Yeah, it's going to be mostly quite dark to show that he's just sad, generally.
Okay, so lighting for that's going to be needing to be done very carefully. I need to talk to you after this about a potential workshop you might need to do on Monday about how to light it effectively but still keep it dark. Potentially also maybe use of some kind of montage.
Yeah, that we were going to have it sort of cut into bits of things that show lots, like the main one was
Okay.
the swing.
The ending of your opening title sequence. Now I'm just wondering, is this a narrative style title sequence whereby we're seeing parts from throughout the film, or is it the actual opening scene that we're seeing,
It was
the
meant to be
equilibrium?
sort of non-linear, like, so it shows different parts of it throughout, and then
Okay, because one suggestion is if you do want to keep it as sort of like a character introduction and sort of establishing who this character is, I was just wondering, maybe when he's at the house, he doesn't actually shoot at it, but there is a sound effect, maybe he's taking photographs, and that's in his mind becoming the shooting. So I'm just wondering if you could play around with maybe the ending, tying it up, just tightening it up a little bit. And finally, maybe something you could consider putting in there is which potential opening title sequences have influenced your ideas. Any suggestions right now, or is that something you could add in as a comment?
there's a comment, but there weren't really any specific ones that influenced us. We kind of made it up quite a lot.
Okay.
ourselves.
Well, it might be that you're using, like the previous group, a lighting effect from a certain one, the scenario from another one, that kind of thing. So give that some consideration as to which opening title sequences have influenced, maybe even the style of filming. Okay? Any other comments?